I stood there in our small San Francisco apartment. The familiar hum of the city buzzed outside the window, my hands still damp from washing the dinner dishes. My name's Lucas Carter, and for years I'd taken pride in my job as head custodian at one of the fanciest office buildings downtown. It wasn't glamorous, mopping floors, scrubbing toilets, making sure every corner sparkled for the suits who worked there. But it was honest. It kept the lights on, put food on the table, and gave me a quiet kind of dignity I'd always held on to. Camilla, my wife, had never seemed to mind, or so I thought. That night, though, everything changed. She walked in from her shift at the boutique, her heels clicking sharply against the hardwood floor, her face tight, like she'd been holding something in all day. I could tell something was off, but I didn't push. I never did. She dropped her purse on the counter, avoided my eyes, and then after a long pause, she finally let it out. "Please don't come to my sister's wedding," she said, her voice low but firm. I frowned, wiping my hands on a dish towel, confused as hell. "Why?" I asked, thinking maybe I'd missed something, some family drama I hadn't caught wind of. She sighed, heavy and irritated, like I was making this harder than it needed to be. "I don't want people to know you're just a cleaner," she said. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Just a cleaner. I stood there, staring at her, my mouth dry, trying to process it. I'd never hidden what I did, never saw a reason to, but the way she said it, like it was some dirty secret, made my chest ache. Before I could even find words, she kept going, her voice colder, now sharper. "I will say you're dead," she said. "Never contact me again." I froze. Dead. My own wife was ready to bury me, erase me from her life like I was nothing. I looked into her eyes, those hazel eyes I'd fallen for years ago, and saw nothing but resolve. No regret, no softness. Just a woman who'd already made up her mind. I'd always known Camilla came from money, a family with fancy dinners and big houses, while I was just a guy from the working side of town. But ashamed? That was new. That cut deeper than anything I'd ever felt. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just stood there, the silence stretching between us, heavy and suffocating. "You're serious?" I finally said, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. She didn't answer, just turned away, her shoulders stiff. That was it then. Years of marriage, cooking together, laughing over dumb TV shows, holding her when she cried about her dad passing. Gone. All because I wasn't good enough for her sister's big day. I don't even remember deciding to leave. It just happened. I walked to our bedroom, pulled my old duffel bag from the closet, and started shoving clothes inside. My work boots, my flannel shirts, the socks with holes I'd been too lazy to throw out. Every piece felt heavier than it should have, like I was packing up more than just stuff. I was packing up me. She didn't stop me, didn't say a word. I zipped the bag, slung it over my shoulder, and glanced at her one last time. She was staring out the window, arms crossed, like I was already gone. Maybe I was. I stepped out into the cool night air, the door clicking shut behind me, and felt the weight of it all crash down. A broken man. That's what I was. Not because I'd lost her, but because I'd lost something I didn't even know I'd been holding on to. Her respect. The streetlights flickered as I walked. No real plan, just moving. My phone stayed silent in my pocket. No call, no texts, nothing. She meant it. I was dead to her. And as I trudged toward the cheap motel a few blocks away, the ache in my chest grew, mixing with a quiet anger I wasn't ready to face. How had it come to this? How had the woman I loved turned me into a ghost? I didn't have answers, not yet. All I had was my bag, my pride, and a job that apparently wasn't worth a damn to the one person who mattered most. I woke up in that cramped motel room, the thin mattress creaking under me, the faint smell of bleach and old cigarette smoke hanging in the air. My name's Lucas Carter, and after Camilla kicked me out, told me I was dead to her, I didn't have much left but my job. Head custodian at one of San Francisco's slickest office buildings. It wasn't much to some people, but it was mine. I'd spent years making sure every floor gleamed, every trash can was emptied, every window spotless for the corporate types who barely noticed me. After that night, with my marriage in pieces, I didn't know what else to do but throw myself into it. Work was the one thing I could control, the one place where I still felt like I mattered. My crew, Omar, Tony, and Elena, noticed I wasn't myself. I'd always been the guy cracking jokes, keeping things light while we scrubbed and swept, but now I was quiet, my head down, my hands moving faster than my mouth. Omar raised an eyebrow one morning, mopping beside me, but he didn't ask. Tony gave me a nod, like he knew something was up but figured I'd talk when I was ready. Elena, though, she watched me a little closer, her dark eyes soft with worry. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? My wife was ashamed of me, wanted me gone. I kept it locked inside, let the rhythm of the work drown it out. The building was my kingdom, 30 floors of glass and steel, and I knew every inch. That morning, I was up on the 30th, checking the supply closet, making sure we had enough paper towels and cleaner for the day. The sun was just breaking over the skyline, casting long shadows across the polished floors, when I heard footsteps behind me. Heavy, deliberate. I turned, and there he was, Benjamin Lancaster, CEO of Lancaster Holdings, the guy who owned half the damn city. I'd seen him before, striding through the lobby in his tailored suits, but we'd never spoken. He was tall, gray hair slicked back, eyes sharp, like he could see right through you. "You must be the head of cleaning here," he said, glancing at my uniform, the name tag stitched with Lucas in faded thread. His voice was deep, steady, not a hint of judgment. I straightened up, wiping my hands on my pants, feeling a little exposed. "Yes, sir," I said. "That's me. I just do my job." He nodded, like he was sizing me up, then surprised me with a small smile. "Honest work is the foundation of any great business," he said. "My father started as a janitor before he built this empire. Never forgot where he came from." I blinked, caught off guard. A janitor? This guy's dad? Lancaster was a legend, billions in real estate, a name that meant power. And here he was talking about mops and brooms like they mattered. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded again, my throat tight. "I've heard good things about you," he went on, adjusting his cufflinks. "Keep it up." Then he walked off, his polished shoes clicking against the floor I'd buffed the night before, leaving me standing there, stunned. I turned back to the supply closet, my hand shaking a little as I grabbed a stack of towels. Honest work. Foundation. The words stuck with me, rolling around in my head all day. Camilla had never seen it that way. My job was a stain to her, something to hide. But this man, this titan, looked at me like I was part of something bigger. It didn't fix the hole she left, didn't erase the sting of her telling me I wasn't good enough. But it lit something small inside me, a flicker of validation I hadn't felt in years. I spent the rest of the shift moving faster, checking every detail twice. Omar caught me wiping down a railing that was already clean and laughed. "You trying to impress someone, boss?" he teased. I smirked, shrugging it off, but inside, I was holding on to Lancaster's words like a lifeline. My marriage was shattered, sure, but I still had this. My hands, my work, my pride. The elites upstairs might not know my name, but the building did. Every shining floor, every streak-free window. It was mine. And for the first time since Camilla turned her back on me, I felt like maybe that was enough. Not forever, maybe, but for now. I clocked out that night, the city lights glowing outside, and walked back to the motel, my steps a little lighter. I wasn't healed, not even close. But I wasn't nothing. Not yet. I was sitting on the edge of that lumpy motel bed, the TV flickering with some late-night show I wasn't really watching, when the mail came. My name's Lucas Carter, and after Camilla told me she'd say I was dead, I've been trying to keep my head above water. Work kept me busy, kept me sane, but the nights were harder, quiet, empty, just me and my thoughts. That day, though, the quiet got louder. I'd grabbed the stack of envelopes from the motel office, mostly junk, ads for car insurance, a pizza coupon, until I saw it, a thick envelope with her handwriting on it, neat and sharp, like everything about her. I knew what it was before I even opened it. Divorce papers. My hands felt heavy as I tore it open, the pages crisp and cold, all legal words and signatures staring back at me. I flipped through them, my eyes blurry, not really reading, just letting the reality sink in. She'd moved fast, faster than I'd expected. Years of marriage, and she couldn't wait to wipe me out of her life for good. Then I got to the last page, and there it was, a little note stuck on with a paperclip, written in her slanted cursive. Don't contact me again. It's better this way. I stared at it, my chest tight, my breath stuck somewhere between anger and disbelief. Better this way? For who? For her, sure. Her fancy family, her sister's perfect wedding, her life where a guy like me didn't fit. But for me? I dropped the papers on the bed, my hands shaking, and just sat there, the room spinning a little. I'd spent years with her, working overtime so she could buy those dresses she loved, cooking her favorite pasta when she had a bad day, listening to her talk about her big plans. I thought we were a team. I thought she saw me, but no. She'd been looking past me the whole time, waiting for a chance to trade up, to scrub me off like dirt on her shoe. I grabbed the pen from the nightstand, the cheap kind with the motel logo on it, and signed the papers right there. My name scrolled big and messy across the line. No hesitation. What was the point? She didn't want me, and I wasn't about to beg. I shoved the pages back into the envelope, sealed it, and tossed it on the dresser like it was nothing. But my heart was pounding. I stood up, paced the tiny room, the carpet worn under my boots. Outside, the city hummed, cars honking, lights flashing. But in here, it was just me and this final betrayal. I'd known she was ashamed of me, known it since that night she told me to stay away from the wedding. But this was her driving the knife in and twisting it. I thought about calling her just to hear her voice, just to ask why. Why I wasn't enough. Why she'd rather kill me off in her story than stand by me. But her note stopped me cold. Don't contact me. She'd made it clear I was nothing to her now, a ghost she'd already buried. I sank back onto the bed, my head in my hands, trying to breathe through the ache. I wasn't crying, didn't have it in me, but I felt hollow, like she'd scooped out everything I'd built my life around and left me empty. The TV droned on, some guy selling knives, and I almost laughed at how stupid it all was. Here I was, a broken man, signing away my marriage while the world kept spinning like nothing happened. I thought about my job, the one thing she hated, the one thing I still had, mopping floors, wiping down desks. It wasn't much, but it was real, more real than whatever she turned us into. I stood up again, grabbed my jacket, and headed out into the night. I didn't know where I was going, just needed to move, to feel the cold air on my face, to shake off the weight of her words. The streets were busy, people laughing, living, and I walked through it all, invisible. I passed a bar, thought about going in, drowning it all in a beer or two, but I kept going. I didn't need that. I needed to feel this, to let it burn, to figure out who I was without her. By the time I got back to the motel, the sky was dark, the stars hidden by city lights. I dropped onto the bed again, the signed papers still sitting there, mocking me. I'd mail them tomorrow, let her have her clean break. But as I closed my eyes, I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't the end of me. She could write me off, but I wasn't done yet. I was wiping down a long oak table in the conference hall, the smell of lemon polish sharp in the air, when I heard it. My name's Lucas Carter, and after signing those divorce papers, I've been trying to keep my head down, focus on my work, and let the days blur together. Being head custodian at that big San Francisco office building gave me something to hold on to. Floors to clean, schedules to manage, a routine that didn't ask questions. But the world has a way of sneaking up on you. The Lancaster family, big shots who own the building, and half the city was buzzing about a wedding. Grayson Lancaster, the CEO's son, was marrying Melanie, Camilla's sister. I'd known it was coming, tried to ignore it, but working where I did made it impossible to escape. Every day I'd catch snippets, caterers rushing through the lobby, florists hauling bouquets, chatter about the divine of the year. I didn't want to care, didn't want to think about Camilla or her family, or the life I'd been cut out of. But that morning, up on the 30th floor, it hit me anyway. I was alone in the conference hall, the glass walls showing off the foggy skyline, when voices drifted in from the hallway, deep, familiar. Benjamin Lancaster, the CEO himself, talking to Grayson. I didn't mean to listen, just kept wiping the table, my rag moving in slow circles. But their words stopped me cold. I heard Melanie's sister lost her husband years ago, Benjamin said, his tone thoughtful, like he was piecing together a story. Tragic thing. I froze, my hand gripping the rags so tight my knuckles went white. Lost her husband. That was me they were talking about, or the me Camilla had invented. Grayson's voice came next, calm and sure. Yeah, Melanie told me her sister's husband died in a car accident 10 years ago. My stomach dropped. 10 years ago. I'd been with Camilla then, married, alive, working my ass off to keep us going. No car accident, no tragedy, just a lie they'd spun to make me disappear. I stood there, the rag limp in my hand, my breath shallow. They'd erased me completely, turned me into some sad little tale to whisper about at fancy dinners. I wanted to laugh, but it hurt too much. The Lancasters kept talking, their voices fading as they walked off, but I couldn't move. My mind was racing, replaying Grayson's words, Melanie's lie, Camilla's cold note. Don't contact me. They built this whole story, buried me in it, and I hadn't even known. I dropped the rag on the table, my hands shaking, and leaned against the edge, staring out at the city. How long had they been telling people this? Was it just for the wedding? Or had Camilla been planting this seed for years? I thought about her family. Her mom with her pearl necklaces. Her dad who'd barely shaken my hand when we met. Melanie with her perfect smile. They'd always looked at me like I didn't belong, but this was next level. I picked up the rag again, started wiping harder now, like I could scrub the whole damn thing away. The table was already clean, but I kept going, my arms burning, my chest tight. I didn't know what to do with it, this anger, this betrayal. Part of me wanted to storm over to Camilla's place, bang on her door, demand answers. Why a car accident? Why 10 years? Why not just say we split? But I knew why. A dead husband was cleaner, sadder, something people could pity her for instead of judge her. A divorced wife of a custodian? That was messy, embarrassing. I stopped wiping, my hands resting on the table, and let out a long, shaky breath. The conference hall was quiet now, just me and the hum of the air vents. I thought about Benjamin Lancaster, how he praised my work, called it honest. He didn't know the half of it. Didn't know the man he'd nodded to was a ghost in someone else's story. I grabbed my cart, the wheels squeaking as I pushed it toward the door. I had to keep moving, keep working, because if I stopped, I'd lose it. The lie was out there now, floating around in their world, and I couldn't unhear it. I couldn't unknow it. As I stepped into the elevator, the steel doors closing, I felt something shift inside me. Secrets were unraveling, sure, but they weren't mine. They were hers. And maybe, just maybe, that meant I wasn't the one who had to carry them. I punched the button for the lobby, my jaw tight, and decided right then I'd let her live her lie, for now. I was sprawled out on the motel bed, the lumpy mattress digging into my back, staring at the cracked ceiling like it might give me answers. My name's Lucas Carter, and I've been trying to forget about the wedding. Melanie's big day with Grayson Lancaster, the event that had my ex-wife Camilla pretending I'd been dead for a decade. Work kept me busy, kept my hands moving. But that Saturday I had no shifts, no floors to mop, nothing to distract me. I'd planned to stay in, keep the TV on low, maybe order a pizza, and let the day pass. I didn't want to be anywhere near that wedding. Didn't want to think about Camilla in some fancy dress, smiling like she hadn't shattered me. The motel room was quiet, just the buzz of the mini fridge and the distant hum of traffic outside. I'd almost convinced myself I could handle it, stay out of it, let them have their lies, when my phone started ringing. I glanced at the screen and my stomach twisted. Camilla. Her name lit up, bold and unwanted, and I let it ring out, watching it go to voicemail. I didn't want to hear her voice, didn't want her excuses. But then it rang again, Melanie this time. I frowned, sat up a little, but didn't pick up. What the hell did she want? Then Camilla's mom called, her number flashing like a warning. I tossed the phone on the bed, my pulse picking up. Something was wrong. It kept going. Cousins I barely remembered, numbers I didn't even recognize, one after another. Notifications piled up, buzzing like flies I couldn't swat away. I grabbed the phone, muted it, but the screen kept lighting up. Camilla again, third time. I stared at it, my thumb hovering over the button. Every muscle in me screaming to let it go, but something in my gut wouldn't let me. I answered. "What?" I said, my voice rougher than I meant it to be. Her breathing came through first, shaky and uneven. Then her voice, small and broken. "Lucas, please come to the wedding. I need you." I almost laughed, the sound catching in my throat, bitter and sharp. "Why would I go? Didn't you say I was dead?" I shot back, leaning forward now, my free hand gripping the edge of the bed. She was crying. I could hear it, the soft sobs she used to save for when she wanted me to fix something. "I was wrong," she said, her words tumbling out fast. "Please just come. Everything is falling apart." I sat there, stunned, the phone hot against my ear. Falling apart? What did that even mean? The wedding was supposed to be perfect. Melanie and Grayson, the golden couple, the Lancasters and their money tying it all together. And now she needed me? The guy she'd erased? I didn't say anything for a second, just listened to her breathe, the panic in every hitch. "What's going on, Camilla?" I finally asked, keeping my tone flat, not giving her an inch. "I can't. Please just come," she begged, her voice cracking. "It's at the Fairmont." "I'll explain when you get here." The line went dead before I could argue, leaving me with nothing but static and a choice I didn't want to make. I dropped the phone, ran a hand through my hair, and cursed under my breath. I didn't owe her anything, not a damn thing. She'd signed me out of her life, mailed me those papers, told her whole world I was gone. But that sound in her voice, desperate, raw, it stuck with me, tugging at something I thought I'd buried. I stood up, paced the tiny room, my boots scuffing the worn carpet. I could ignore it, let her deal with whatever mess she'd made. That's what I should have done. But my mind kept spinning. Why me? Why now? What had gone so wrong that she'd call the guy she'd thrown away? I stopped by the window, the blinds half open, the gray San Francisco day stretching out beyond the glass. I didn't want to go. Every part of me screamed to stay put, to let her drown in her own lies. But curiosity, or maybe something dumber, like the ghost of who we used to be, won out. I grabbed my jacket, the old denim one she'd always hated, and headed for the door. The Fairmont wasn't far, a cab ride I could barely afford, but I'd go. Not for her, I told myself, but for me. To see what kind of chaos could shake her enough to call me back from the dead. I stepped outside, the air cool and damp, and flagged a taxi, my gut churning the whole way there. Whatever was waiting, I'd face it, but I wasn't fixing anything. Not this time. I sat in the back of that cab, the leather seats creaking under me, the city flashing by in a blur of gray and glass. My name's Lucas Carter, and I was on my way to the Fairmont Hotel, dragged there by Camilla's desperate voice echoing in my head. "Please come. I need you." I didn't want to go. Didn't want to step back into her world after she'd kicked me out of it. But here I was, my hands clenched in my lap, my old denim jacket feeling out of place even in my mind. The driver didn't talk, just hummed along to some scratchy radio song, and I was glad for the quiet. I kept asking myself why I'd said yes, why I was doing this. But I didn't have a good answer. Maybe I just needed to see it, whatever mess she'd made, with my own eyes. The Fairmont loomed up ahead, all fancy stone and glowing lights, the kind of place I'd never belonged. I paid the driver with crumpled bills, stepped out, and felt the weight of it hit me. People in suits and dresses flowed through the doors, laughter and music spilling out, the wedding in full swing. Or, at least it had been. The second I walked inside, I knew something was off. Heads turned, eyes locked on me, whispers rippling through the crowd like I was some ghost crashing the party. I stuffed my hands in my pockets, kept my head up, and then I saw her. Camilla, rushing toward me across the marble lobby, her heels clicking fast. She looked like a wreck, her fancy dress wrinkled, mascara streaking her face, tears turning her into someone I barely recognized. "Lucas," she gasped, grabbing my arm, her fingers digging in. "Thank God you're here." I pulled back a little, frowning. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice steady even though my gut was twisting. She looked around, nervous, like she didn't want anyone to hear, then leaned in close. "They know," she whispered, her breath hot against my ear. I raised an eyebrow, stepping back again. "Know what?" She swallowed hard, her hands trembling. "Everything," she choked out, her voice breaking. I stood there, staring at her, trying to piece it together. Everything what? The hell did that mean? She grabbed my sleeve again, pulling me toward a quieter corner. away from the gawking guests. "Benjamin Lancaster found out," she said, her words spilling out fast. "He knows you're not dead, knows I lied about it all. He confronted Melanie and me. And Grayson, oh God, Grayson's furious. He's talking about calling off the wedding." My head spun. Benjamin Lancaster, the CEO who'd praised my work, knew the truth. I crossed my arms, keeping my distance, watching her fall apart. "So your lie blew up," I said, keeping it simple, my tone flat. "And now what?" Her eyes went wide, pleading. "You have to fix this, Lucas. Please." I almost laughed right there, the sound bubbling up, bitter and sharp. Fix it? Me? The guy she'd thrown away? "And why would I do that?" I asked, leaning against the wall, my jaw tight. "You told them I was dead. You signed me out of your life. Why the hell should I clean up your mess?" She flinched, tears spilling faster now, but I didn't soften. I'd spent years bending over backwards for her, working late, swallowing her little digs about my job, and I was done. "I was wrong," she said, her voice small. "I know that now." "I shouldn't have. I didn't mean..." "Didn't mean what?" I cut in, stepping closer, my voice low but hard. "To tell your whole family I died in some fake car accident? To make me a stranger in my own life? What didn't you mean, Camilla?" She shrank back, wrapping her arms around herself, sobbing now. "I was scared," she said. "Scared of what they'd think. Scared of losing everything." "I thought it'd be easier if you were just gone." I stared at her, the words sinking in. Easier. That's what I'd been to her. A problem to erase. I took a deep breath, let it out slow, trying to keep the anger from boiling over. "Well, it's not easier now, is it?" I said. She shook her head, her hands covering her face, and I just watched, feeling the distance between us stretch wider than ever. The lobby buzzed around us, guests milling, staff whispering, but it was like we were in our own little bubble, her desperation and my coldness filling the space. I didn't know what she expected me to do. Walk in there, charm the Lancasters, save her sister's wedding? I wasn't that guy. Not anymore. "Please, Lucas," she said again, reaching for me. I stepped back, out of her grasp. "You made this bed," I said. "Lie in it." And with that, I turned, ready to walk away. Except I didn't. Not yet. Because part of me still wanted to see how this played out. I stood there in that fancy Fairmont lobby, Camilla's tear-streaked face still in front of me, her pleas ringing in my ears. But I wasn't moving. Not yet. My name's Lucas Carter, and I'd come this far against every bit of sense I had because my ex-wife begged me to fix her mess. She lied about me being dead, and now the truth was out, unraveling her sister's wedding to Grayson Lancaster. I could have walked away, left her to drown in it, but something held me back. Maybe curiosity, maybe the old habit of wanting to help her. So I nodded, sharp and reluctant, and said, "Fine. Let's see this through." Her eyes lit up, relief washing over her, and she grabbed my arm again, pulling me toward the ballroom. The door swung open and I stepped inside, the air thick with tension. Chandeliers glittered above like they were mocking the chaos below. The room was packed. Guests in tuxes and gowns, waiters frozen with trays, all eyes turning to me like I'd just crashed the party. And there, at the front, stood Benjamin Lancaster, his gray hair catching the light, his face hard as stone. Next to him was Grayson, tall and stiff, his jaw clenched, and Melanie, Camilla's sister, looking pale and small in her wedding dress. The silence was deafening, pressing down on me as I walked forward, Camilla trailing behind. her breath shaky. Benjamin's gaze locked onto me, sharp and steady, and he spoke first. "So," he said, his voice cutting through the room, "you're the man I was told had been dead for 10 years. I stopped a few feet away, my boots scuffing the polished floor, and took a deep breath. "Yes, sir," I said, meeting his eyes. "But I'm very much alive." The room went dead quiet, like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for what came next. I could feel Camilla behind me, shrinking into herself, but I didn't look back. This wasn't about her anymore, it was about me. Benjamin tilted his head, studying me, and I didn't flinch. I'd faced worse than this. "Guess I owe you an explanation," I said, my voice steady even though my heart was pounding. My wife, ex-wife, decided I didn't fit her story. Said I was a cleaner, nothing more, and she was ashamed of it. So she told everyone I died. Car accident, 10 years back. Signed the divorce papers and told me never to contact her again. A murmur rippled through the crowd, low and shocked, but I kept going, the words spilling out now, raw and real. "I didn't know about the lie till a few days ago. Overheard it right here in your building, Mr. Lancaster. Been working my job, keeping my head down, while she built a whole life without me in it." I paused, letting it sink in, my hands flexing at my sides. "That's the truth, all of it." Benjamin's expression didn't change, but his eyes narrowed, flicking to Camilla, then to Melanie. Grayson stepped forward, his face dark with anger, and turned to Melanie. "You knew about this?" he asked, his voice low but cutting. Melanie's hands twisted in her dress, her lips trembling. "Grayson, I swear I didn't. I mean, I knew she said he was gone, but I didn't." "Didn't what?" Grayson snapped, cutting her off. "Didn't think it mattered? Didn't think I'd care? Your family's been lying to me." Melanie's face went ashen, tears welling up, and she shook her head, but it was too late. The room felt like it was shrinking, the air heavy with the weight of it all. I stood there, watching it unfold, my chest tight but my head clear. I'd said my piece, laid it bare, and now it was theirs to deal with. Benjamin raised a hand, quieting the whispers, and looked at me again. "You're the head custodian at my building," he said, like he was putting it together. "The one I spoke to." I nodded. "Yes, sir. Been doing the job for years. Took pride in it, even if she didn't." His mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but something close. Then he turned to Grayson. "Son, what do you make of this?" Grayson didn't hesitate. "If this family can lie about something this serious," he said, his voice cold, "how do I know what else you've lied about?" "I refuse to marry into deception." Melanie gasped, a sob breaking free, and Camilla grabbed my arm again, whispering, "Lucas, do something." But I shook her off, stepping back. "I've done enough," I said, loud enough for her to hear, for them all to hear. "This isn't my fight." Grayson looked at Melanie one last time, then turned away, walking toward the doors, his shoulders stiff. The crowd parted, stunned, and I watched him go, knowing it was over. The wedding was dead, just like I'd been to them. Only this time, it was real. I stood in that glittering ballroom, the chandeliers casting light across the stunned faces, the air thick with the fallout of the truth I'd just dropped. "My name's Lucas Carter, and I'd come to the Fairmont at Camilla's begging, laid out her lives for the Lancasters to see. And now the wedding, Melanie and Grayson's big day, was crumbling." Grayson had walked out, his words still hanging heavy. "I refuse to marry into deception." Melanie was sobbing, her white dress crumpled as she sank into a chair, her hands covering her face. Camilla was next to me, her breath ragged, her eyes darting around like she could still fix this. I didn't move, didn't say a word, just watched it all unravel. my arms crossed, my boots planted firm on the polished floor. The guests were whispering, some slipping out the doors, others staring like this was some kind of show. I didn't care. I'd done what I came to do, told the truth, and now it was over. Camilla turned to me, her face a mess of tears and mascara, and grabbed my sleeve. "Lucas, please," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry." "I'm so sorry. Forgive me." I looked down at her, her hazel eyes wide and pleading, the same ones I'd fallen for years ago, and felt nothing. No anger, no pity, just a cold, empty space where she used to be. "You don't get it, do you?" I said, pulling my arm free. "This isn't about forgiveness. You made your choice. Live with it." She flinched, stepping back, her hands trembling. I didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered. I wanted them to see me differently. I didn't think. You didn't think I'd matter," I finished for her, my voice low but steady. "You thought you could erase me and nobody'd notice. Well, they noticed now." She opened her mouth, then closed it, tears spilling again. But I was done listening. I turned away, ready to leave, when Benjamin Lancaster stepped over, his gray hair catching the light, his face calm but firm. "Hold on a minute," he said, his deep voice stopping me cold. I faced him, nodding once. "Sir." He glanced at Melanie, still crying, then at Camilla, who'd shrunk into herself before looking back at me. "That took guts, coming here, saying what you did," he said. "I admire men who work hard and take pride in what they do. If I'd known the truth about you from the start, I'd have had a very different impression of this family." I didn't know what to say, so I just stood there, my hands in my pockets, waiting. He adjusted his tie, then dropped a bombshell. "You're wasted as just a cleaner," he said. "I want you to come work for me. Head of Facilities Management for Lancaster Holdings. Better pay, more responsibility. You've earned it." My jaw dropped, just for a second, before I caught myself. "You serious?" I asked, my voice rough. He nodded, a small smile tugging at his mouth. "Dead serious. Think about it. Let me know Monday." Then he turned, heading back to his son's side, leaving me standing there, stunned. Camilla stared at me, her eyes wide, like she couldn't believe it either. "Lucas," she started, but I cut her off with a look. "Don't," I said. "You don't get to talk to me now." She backed off, wrapping her arms around herself, and I watched Melanie for a moment, her dream days shattered, her family's choices crashing down on her. She looked up, caught my eye, and I saw the guilt there, the regret. But I didn't soften. They'd all played their part in this lie, and now they were paying for it. I turned for the doors, the crowd parting as I walked through, my boots loud against the marble. Camilla called after me, her voice small. "Lucas, wait." But I didn't stop. I stepped out into the cool night air, the city sprawling beyond the Fairmont's glow, and took a deep breath. The wedding was off. Melanie was broken. Camilla was begging. And I was free. I didn't know them anything. Not my time, not my help, not my forgiveness. Benjamin's offer rattled around in my head. Head of Facilities Management. Me, the guy Camilla was ashamed of, getting a shot like that. I almost laughed, the irony bitter and sweet all at once. I started walking. No cab this time, just me in the streets, the weight of the night lifting with every step. Camilla's reckoning wasn't mine to carry. She'd lost everything she'd chased, and I'd gained something I didn't even know I'd been looking for. A chance to be more than she'd ever let me be. The skyline glittered ahead, and for the first time in weeks, I felt the ground solid under me. I sat at my new desk, the wood smooth under my hands, the faint hum of the office building alive around me. My name's Lucas Carter, and months had passed since that night at the Fairmont, since Camilla's lies blew up, the wedding fell apart, and Benjamin Lancaster offered me a new job. Head of Facilities Management for Lancaster Holdings. I'd said yes. Moved out of that dingy motel and into a small apartment with a view of the bay. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Clean, quiet, a fresh start. The job was good. Better pay, a team under me, respect I hadn't known I'd been missing. I wasn't just mopping floors anymore. I was running things, making sure the whole operation ticked like a clock. Omar, Tony, and Elena still worked with me, grinning when they saw me in a collared shirt instead of my old uniform, teasing me about being the boss now. I'd rebuilt my life, piece by piece, and it felt solid, real, like something I could stand on. That day, though, the past came knocking. I was finishing up some paperwork, schedules, supply orders, when the buzzer on my apartment door went off. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I frowned, set the pen down, and walked over to the intercom. "Yeah?" I said, leaning in. The pause, then her voice, soft and shaky. "Lucas, it's me. Can I come up? Camilla?" My stomach tightened, but I didn't hesitate. "What do you want?" I asked, keeping it short. "Please," she said. "I just need to talk." I stood there, my hand hovering over the button, every part of me wanting to say no. I didn't need her dragging me back into her mess. Not now, not after I'd finally gotten free. But something in her tone, quiet, broken, made me press it anyway. "Fine," I said. "Come up." The wait was short. I heard her footsteps in the hall, slow and hesitant, then a knock. I opened the door and there she was, Camilla, standing in my doorway, looking smaller than I remembered. Her hair was pulled back, her coat plain, no trace of the polished woman she'd been at the wedding. Her eyes met mine, red-rimmed, nervous. "Hi," she said, barely above a whisper. I didn't smile, didn't step aside right away. "What's this about?" I asked, my arms crossed. She bit her lip, shifting her weight. "Can I come in? Just for a minute?" I sighed, moved back and let her step inside. She glanced around, new couch, coffee table, the view through the window, and I saw her take it in like she was seeing me for the first time. I shut the door, leaned against it, waiting. "I regret everything," she said finally, turning to me, her hands clasped tight. "I was wrong to be ashamed of you. I see that now. I've missed you, Lucas." I stared at her, the words hanging there, and felt nothing stir. No warmth, no ache, just a flat calm. She kept going, her voice trembling. "After the wedding, after it all fell apart. Melanie wouldn't talk to me for weeks. Mom blamed me. I lost my job at the boutique. I've been trying to figure out who I am without all that, and I keep coming back to you. To us." I let her talk, let her spill it all, my face still. When she stopped, looking at me like I might throw her a lifeline, I took a slow breath. "You done?" I said. She nodded, hopeful, and I stepped closer, keeping my voice even. "You weren't ashamed of me, Camilla. You were ashamed of yourself. You couldn't stand that I didn't fit your picture, your family, your big plans. You didn't miss me. You missed the idea of me fixing things for you like I always did." Her face crumpled, tears welling up, but I didn't stop. "I'm not that guy anymore. I've got a life now. One you don't get to walk back into because you're lonely or sorry. You made your call. I've made mine. She shook her head, reaching out, but I stepped back, my hand on the doorknob. "Lucas, please," she whispered. "I love you." I opened the door, the cool air from the hall rushing in. "You don't," I said. "You never did. Not the real me." She stood there, frozen, tears streaming now, and I nodded toward the hall. "Go." She hesitated, then walked out. Her shoulders slumped, her steps slow. I shut the door behind her, the click loud in the quiet, and leaned against it, my chest tight but steady. I waited for the regret to hit, the doubt. But it didn't. I walked to the window, looked out at the water shimmering under the city lights, and felt the weight lift. She was gone for good this time, and I was still here, standing taller than I ever had with her. I leaned back in the chair on my balcony, the cool San Francisco breeze brushing my face, a mug of coffee warming my hands. My name's Lucas Carter, and I'd come a long way from that broken man who'd walked out of Camilla's life, or who she'd pushed out, depending on how you look at it. It was early, the sun just creeping up over the skyline, painting the bay in shades of gold and pink. My new apartment wasn't big, but this spot, the balcony, was my favorite. It was quiet up here, just me and the city stretching out below, a view I'd earned. I took a sip of coffee, the bitterness grounding me, and let my mind wander over everything that had happened. Months ago, I'd been sleeping on a motel bed, signing divorce papers, reeling from Camilla telling the world I was dead. Now, I was head of facilities management for Lancaster Holdings, running a team, making decent money, living in a place I could call my own. I'd lost my wife, lost her long before she ever admitted it. But I'd found something better, myself. The job kept me busy, and I liked that. I'd walk the floors of that big office building every day, checking on my crew, making sure everything ran smooth. Omar would grin at me, wiping down a desk, saying, "Look at you, boss man. Too good for a mop now." I'd laugh, shake my head, and keep moving. Tony and Elena were the same, teasing me about my new clipboard, my office with a window. But they respected me, and that felt good. Benjamin Lancaster had kept his word, given me a shot, and I'd taken it. I wasn't just a cleaner anymore. I was building something, proving I was more than Camilla ever saw. I set the mug down on the little table beside me, the steam curling up into the morning air, and stretched my legs out. The city was waking up, cars honking faint in the distance, seagulls crying over the water, and I felt awake too. Really awake, for the first time in years. Losing Camilla had gutted me, no question. That night she told me not to come to the wedding, told me I was dead to her. It broke something inside. But sitting here now, I could see it for what it was, a crack that let the light in. She'd taken my pride, my trust, but she couldn't take what I'd built back. I thought about her showing up at my door a while back, all tears and regrets, saying she missed me. I'd shut that down fast, closed the door on her for good, and it didn't haunt me like I thought it might. She wasn't my problem anymore. I didn't hate her, not really, just didn't need her. The coffee was cooling now, but I took another sip anyway, letting it settle me. I'd heard bits and pieces about her since. Melanie still wasn't talking to her. Her mom had cooled off too, and the boutique job was long gone. She lost a lot, chasing that perfect life she thought she deserved. And I wondered if she ever looked back and saw where it started. Me. I didn't look back much anymore. Forward was better. New days, new chances. I stood up, leaned on the railing, and watched a ferry cut across the bay, slow and steady. My life wasn't perfect, still had bills, still had quiet nights where the past crept in. But it was mine. I'd lost a wife, sure, but I'd gained my self-respect. And that weighed more than she ever did. I thought about Benjamin Lancaster, the man who'd seen something in me when I couldn't see it myself. Honest work, he'd said, and I'd carried that with me. It wasn't just about the job, it was about who I was. I'd spent years thinking I had to prove myself to Camilla, to her family. But I didn't. I just had to prove it to me. The sun was higher now, the city fully alive below, and I smiled a little, just to myself. I'd head to work soon, put on that collared shirt, walk into that building like I belonged. Because I did. The phone buzzed inside, probably Omar texting about some supply mix-up, and I'd deal with it, same as always. But for now I stayed out here, the breeze on my skin, the coffee in my hand, the skyline ahead. I wasn't the guy Camilla had thrown away anymore. I was Lucas Carter, alive, steady, and starting over. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough.